Hi, hello, and welcome to the podcast that you will come to know and love. The podcast where I talk about my journey of going from corporate drone to corporate dropout as a personal trainer and fitness coach who also currently works as an engineer, but also is a streamer and YouTuber and content creator and about 500 other things. You know it and you love it, and you will know it and you will love it. Welcome back, or welcome to Chaos and Fuckery. Now, I struggle saying welcome to versus welcome back because to the average user, this is my first video on this channel. And this will be my first video my first audio in the official podcast launch. But I've actually been recording this podcast for 60 episodes over on my other YouTube channel. I finally decided to break it off and make it a real podcast because if you've been following my story for a while, you'll know I used to have another podcast called Engineering Chaos. And what happened there is essentially my co-host is not interested anymore. Is how I would like to put it. She hasn't officially said that, but when you're trying to build a business, you have to think about yourself, you have to think about the future of your business, and you have to think about what your schedule looks like when it gets big. And as a podcaster, one of the things that you have to think about is my ability to get episodes out on time if I have sponsors that I'm reliant to. Same thing with YouTube creation, right? If you eventually get to the point that sponsors are sponsoring individual episodes or individual videos, you need someone reliable in your corner that you know you'll get it recorded and edited in time and out on the channel in time. You can't just be like, yes, it'll go up tomorrow. That doesn't work with sponsors. And I wanted to continue to grow that podcast because I thought the concept was interesting, right? Talking about life as corporate engineers, talking about women engineers, talking about different engineering projects like the theme parks here in Orlando. It was a fun topic to go back and forth with one of the people that I thought would always be in my corner and that I could eventually bring into the business fold and maybe retire her from corporate life as well. And unfortunately, we seem to have two very different directions of this is a fun project and a fun thing to do versus this is building a business pillar. And that's why I'm here. I've always kind of wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to have a podcast that kind of chronicles my journey of being a small business owner and being a content creator and struggling as someone who had zero platform going into getting my personal training certification and nutrition certification 3 years ago. And while I haven't always been consistent, I am making a final really big push in 2025 to make that dream happen. I want to get away from corporate life more so now than ever. And that's why this is becoming a more formalized thing. Chaos and Fuckery is the definition of my life. I am married to a blue-collar man who creates chaos in my life on a daily basis with his chaotic ways and crazy, insane things. Just this morning, I was awoken at 3 a.m. because he was bored and couldn't sleep. And he apparently needed to make it everybody in the house's problem, including mine. I've been married to that crazy-ass man for 7 years. But the fuckery part is, well, internal. When it comes to being a business owner, being a personal trainer, being a content creator, I have dealt with a lot of fuckery. I never thought I was good enough to do this. I've always felt like I was never ready to do this. When I got my personal trainer cert, I wasn't in the best shape and still am not in my perfect physique, and I'm working on that. I'm on my mission to get my perfect physique by June, and I'm working towards that. But I'm not there yet, obviously. And sometimes that brings a lot of haters to your comments of, I would never trust a trainer that looks like you. And while, yes, people are entitled to their own opinion, that doesn't mean it doesn't sting anymore. And those types of people are the people that I don't necessarily want to work with, but it still hurts. And that can be hard when your business is entirely run online. The comments, the skin you have to grow as a newbie content creator, both on YouTube and on TikTok and any other platform you may be on, is unreal. You have to get to a point where you basically don't give a shit what anyone else thinks. And I have fucked up my business opportunities on more than one occasion in the last 3 years. The fuckery is me. Yes, there are a lot of crazy things that happened in my life that led to me naming this podcast Chaos and Fuckery, but the fuckery is really the journey internally when it comes to being a business owner, because no one in my family has been like a CEO or a business owner. They've all been the corporate drones that work for other people and deal with the politics of not being able to control their own schedules and deal with the politics of not being able to promote at the rates and earn the money that they want to earn. And, they've all dealt with the middle class struggle, and I'm done with that. I proved I could make 6 figures before I turned 30, but I don't want the rest of my growth being limited by what someone else has to say about me. I am no longer interested in my engineering job, and it doesn't really serve me, which is another reason why the other podcast kind of limited me. We were constantly talking about something that I no longer really wanted to be a part of. And while I do still have to do that job because times are fucking tough right now, I want to build a community of gamers and streamers that are interested in fitness. But I also want to build a successful business that doesn't read people for filth when it comes to being able to get help and assistance in the health and fitness world. I want to have reasonable prices and serve more people, rather than high ticket prices and serving less people. I want to build a dance center that is also a gymnastics gym that supports my local community and helps parents navigate some of the bad parts of those sports when it comes to nutrition and body size and, injuries even. I want to be able to be a one-stop shop of resources for parents and kids and my teachers, and maybe even start my own convention or competition in the future that celebrates all types of dancers and all types of gymnasts, not just the ones that fit the stereotypical mold. Another business idea that came out of nowhere is my husband and I love to play pool, and our local pool hall was shut down. So we've thrown around the idea of opening our own and running our own. These are all businesses that I want to be a part of. And while one hopefully will funnel the other, my future also involves being on a huge property in the middle of nowhere with a go-kart track in my backyard, a pool in my other backyard, and a 6-car garage that allows my husband to tinker with all of his crazy toys. It allows me to have a home gym that I can do video training from, as well as create all of the awesome content I want to create in the future. But also be home and present in a world where my husband and I do decide to have kids. My future is controlled by what I am capable of doing while working a 9-to-5 right now. And I don't want it to be. I don't want the fact that I couldn't afford daycare services to stop me and my husband from having kids in the case that we decide we want. I don't want 10 to 12-hour work days stopping me from really knowing my kids because they're in daycare all day. I don't want traditional life structure. You must be in an office from 9 to 5 when that's not how my brain works to stop me from being a part of the world. And while I work remote right now and my time is very flexible, my job currently is very nice to me, it's just not enough. There is not enough control in the world for me to not want to run my own show, to hire other people that I want to support, to build bigger businesses than simply just online coaching and content creation. The world is bigger than I've ever seen it, and I knew it was pretty big before I got into this. So this podcast, if you want to follow along, is about that journey. Right now, it is currently March of 2025, and I want to close out my fitness roster by the end of 2025. And I want to pay off everything but my home with the combination of funds from my business and my corporate job so that I feel comfortable dropping down to at least part-time with my corporate job until I'm fully sustainable on my own. I want to make YouTube partner for my major channel, which will be listed in the description below, but it wouldn't hurt if I also hit it with this one. But I know I'm starting at a disadvantage with this one, given that it's a brand new podcast and I did zero marketing for it. I want to see where this goes purely on YouTube without any help from my other platforms. Because this is different. Because yes, on some episodes, I'm sure I'll talk about the fitness industry and how that's impacting being a small business owner. And I'm sure I'll talk about how changes at Twitch have changed my strategy for growing my business, because I do work with gamers. And I'm sure I'll talk about how these janky chairs and the products I use are changing the game when it comes to content creation and making my business bigger. Those are topics that are a part of my business. And my business is that other channel. But this podcast in the future will also be a part of that strategy. I want to bring on guests and talk to other in the light on other small business owners and streamers, because streaming can be absolutely lonely and absolutely frustrating because the platforms don't help you grow sometimes. Unless you're doing YouTube and Twitch, which is a lot of work for someone who probably isn't doing it full time and doesn't have an editor, you're going to struggle. And I want to talk about all of those things because this is my journey. But it's not a unique journey. So many small business owners give up right as they're about to hit their stride. I, at a certain point, never thought I would hit 100 subscribers on YouTube. And trying to get to 1,000 in the next 9 months sounds insane. But I'm going to continue to be consistent, put out good content, put out content that my audience wants to see, and hopefully I get there. Hopefully I hit that magic stride button and I get where I want to go, because I'm putting in the work for once. I refuse to give up on creating this amazing life I want. And everyone with a fucking mic has a podcast nowadays. So why am I here? Well, for some part of it, it's wanting to document the journey in a way that I can look back and remember, like, shit, that was when I was at 100 subscribers and I had no idea what I was doing. But also so that as I continue to grow, I can uplift other small businesses and other small creators, and we can celebrate and commiserate together as a community of people trying to create a better life for themselves than what corporate life offers them. Because as a massively neurodivergent human being, corporate life doesn't offer me everything I need, and it never will. There are some of us that just belong in a different type of world, and this is my world. It's chaotic. There's a lot of fuckery. And honestly, not all episodes will be positive ones, because sometimes business fucking sucks. Running a business, editing, doing all the things that come with being an online creator sucks sometimes. It's not all happy, shiny things, and I want to be able to address those things and talk about it, right? One of the episodes I did before I decided to make this an official podcast was about the TikTok shutdown, and here we are again, about to be going into that cycle, and I'm tired of the whiplash. As a small business owner, TikTok was a great platform, and it still continues to be that way for visibility. But if it's going to go away, I would rather it go away now rather than when I have my entire audience there, or my major audience there, I should say. I'm tired of waiting for someone to make a decision, and I want to create a world where I am in the driver's seat. Not a social media platform, not a corporate company, not my husband, not my family, me. For so long of my life, everybody else has been in the driver's seat. And that's on me and a little bit of my fuckery, but I'm tired of it. No one else is driving this fucking car anymore. I am getting out. Come hell or come high water, I am getting the fuck out of corporate life, and I'm gonna run my businesses. I'm gonna buy a giant property in the middle of nowhere and live in my house and be a content creator. Well, I don't think my life is that interesting that I could be a daily vlogger. I can provide good free fitness content for gamers. And I can build a dance studio, because that was my life for 15 years. And I was one of those dancers that suffered and had to recover and still am in recovery from an eating disorder. I want to make the dance world better for kids coming up who are just like me, that maybe were a little different and sometimes carried a little extra weight. I want them to know that not eating is not the answer to solve your problems. problems. I want them to know that when you're injured, it is okay to take time to rest and recover and have a space that if they want to still see their friends, they can come and do physical therapy and work on that injury in a way that is safe, and they will be able to continue their careers as gymnasts and dancers long past where most can. I want to do things the right way. And a lot of studios don't. So I guess what I'm trying to say is following the entrepreneurship journey and talking about the woes and wins of that journey is something you're interested in. Welcome to Chaos and Fuckery, where I'm going to talk all about it. The good, the bad, the ugly, including my own chaos and fuckery. Because if we can't own up to our own shit, why are we even doing this? And as I continue to grow this podcast, I hope to bring on guests. And I hope to, do visuals and show you more than just the Funko Pops behind me. But for now, I am here to show y'all the journey of what it looks like as someone who is 29, almost 30, trying to start my life over again and make a better one and, set up my future for whatever it may be. 7 years into my marriage, after buying my house, after being I'm 10 years into my engineering career and I hate it. So I'm starting over. While I still have that as a backbone, I'm not stupid. I am ready to make a difference. And I am not your perfect fitness coach. I'm not ripped and I'm not a bodybuilder, but I am normal. I understand what it's like to struggle with weight. I understand what it's like to struggle with different types of eating habits and eating disorders. While I cannot treat those, obviously, I do understand what it's like to be in recovery and wonder, am I doing too much? Am I triggering myself to the point that I'm going to get bad again? Am I going too far off the deep end in recovery and borderlining a different type of eating disorder? I understand what that mental game is, and I understand what it's like to, want the scale to go down faster than it is. Even though the scale is a finicky bitch and she's just not fun, sometimes she's kind of important. I understand what it's like to try to grow on Twitch and find your voice and find what content you want to try and do. And I understand the struggle of fighting the fucking YouTube algorithm. I understand all types of people, but mainly I understand the fitness struggle when you are a 9-to-5er and busy, and really the only thing I don't understand is what it's like to try to do it with kids. And I never would try to explain that because that is a whole different ballgame. When people say we all have the same 24 hours in a day, fucking bullshit. It's not excuses. We just genuinely don't have the same 24 hours in a day. I am capable of staying up till 3 a.m. and working on a video because I don't have kids. My only responsibility my only responsibility is the furry kids in my house. They're furry and they eat twice a day. Like, it's not that hard. I don't have someone constantly nagging me and have to feed them foods that don't matter because my husband is pretty self-sufficient. Understand that. And I will work with my clients on that. Fuck, I even find ways to game and work out for a lot of my clients. Here's to the journey. While this isn't day one by any means, here's to the day one of this podcast. And if you want to follow along on this journey with me, feel free to subscribe to this channel and maybe leave a comment about topics you want to hear about in the future when it comes to being a small business owner who is still growing but learning, or if you want to share some insights because you've been a little bit more successful than I, which who isn't, then feel free to do that as well. But for now, welcome to Chaos and Fuckery, and I will be back Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. That's when I'm releasing episodes, 3 days a week. At one point, I wanted to make this daily and make it a little bit shorter, but I found myself repeating everything that was going on during the week and just yelling about, algorithms and how everything was just frustrating or everything was great and ignoring things that I should be doing because I felt good. So we're going to go Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday for this podcast. And I appreciate you for being here and being a part of this journey of going from corporate drone to corporate dropout. Even if you never become a client of mine, simply being here and listening to this part of the journey is also important. So thank you. And as always, I hope you enjoyed the chaos and you don't have so much fuckery.